Hey, no sleep. I never thought I'd be posting here, but after what happened, I need to share this tale of horror and confusion. You see, a few weeks back, I met someone on Tinder and everything seemed perfect. His name was Alex, and our conversations flowed effortlessly, filled with shared interests and a surprising amount of chemistry. We decided it was time to take things from the virtual world to the real one. Alex suggested a small, dimly lit coffee shop nestled in the heart of the city. Nervous excitement coursed through me as I entered, scanning the room for the face that had become so familiar through our late-night messages. There he was sitting in the corner, just like in his pictures. Dark hair, piercing eyes, and a smile that sent shivers down my spine. We greeted each other with a hug, and as we sat down, I couldn't help but marvel at how effortlessly the conversation flowed, just like it did online. "So how's your day been?" I asked, trying to keep things light as I sipped my coffee. He chuckled, his eyes locking onto mine. "Oh, the usual. Work, a bit of Netflix. But now it's much better. Finally meeting you in person." I blushed, a mixture of flattery and nerves. Little did I know, this was just the calm before the storm. As the night progressed, we decided to take a stroll through a nearby park. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow on the deserted paths. We talked about life, dreams, and everything in between. It was all so perfect, so normal. Then, as we reached a secluded area, he stopped abruptly. The air grew thick with tension as he turned to me, his once charming smile now twisted into something more sinister. He began, his tone chillingly calm. "I'm not exactly who I said I was." I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. "What do you mean?" Alex's eyes gleamed with a strange mix of malice and satisfaction. "I created a fake profile to get back at someone from your past. You're just a pawn in my revenge game." I stumbled back, the world around me spinning. "What? Revenge? What are you talking about?" He leaned in, his breath cold against my ear. "Someone wronged me, and I decided it was time for payback. And you, my dear, walked right into the trap." Fear crept up my spine as the reality of the situation sunk in. I was caught in a crossfire of someone else's vendetta, a pawn in a game I never signed up to play. "Who are you talking about? What did they do?" I demanded, my voice shaky. He hesitated for a moment before revealing the details of a past grudge, a tale of betrayal and resentment that had nothing to do with me. I was left standing there, a bewildered bystander caught in the twisted threads of someone else's dark plot. Days turned into nights, and the horror escalated. Strange messages arrived in my inbox, cryptic threats, ominous warnings, all suggesting that I was being watched. Paranoia took hold, and I could feel unseen eyes on me wherever I went. One evening, as I sat alone in my dimly lit apartment, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I answered cautiously. "You thought you could escape, but you can't run from the consequences," a distorted voice whispered through the receiver. "Who is this? What do you want from me?" I pleaded, but the line went dead. Determined to unravel the mystery, I delved into the dark corners of the internet, searching for clues about the person behind the revenge plot. The deeper I went, the more I uncovered a sinister world of online manipulation, deception, and a group that reveled in the suffering of others. The shadows seemed to grow darker around me, and I questioned the sanity of every person I encountered. Every step felt like a plunge into the unknown, the line between reality and nightmare blurring with each passing moment. Now here I am, no sleep, seeking your advice. How do I survive the darkness that engulfs my life? I'm trapped in a web of revenge spun by someone else, and the only way out seems to lead deeper into the abyss. Can anyone help me make sense of this twisted nightmare? All right, no sleep, I'm back with the next chapter of this nightmare. After the revelation that my Tinder date, Alex, was not who he claimed to be, things took a turn for the worse. If you thought the first chapter was unsettling, buckle up, because the first date was just the beginning. So after Alex dropped the bomb about the fake profile and the revenge plot, I was left standing there in the park, my mind racing and my heart pounding. The once charming guy in front of me now wore a malevolent grin, reveling in the chaos he had unleashed upon my life. "Enjoying the show?" he sneered, as if my confusion and fear were his ultimate satisfaction. I took a step back, trying to maintain some semblance of composure. "What do you want from me? I have nothing to do with your twisted vendetta." His laughter echoed in the eerie stillness of the park. Oh, my dear, you're the perfect pawn. You're going to suffer for the sins of another." With that ominous declaration, he turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving me alone with the weight of his words sinking in. Days passed like a blur, the messages and threats escalating. I found myself checking over my shoulder constantly, jumping at the slightest sound. Sleep became a distant memory as the fear of the unknown consumed me. In an attempt to regain some sense of control, I decided to confront Alex. I needed answers, and perhaps facing him would provide some clarity in this nightmarish situation. We agreed to meet at a deserted pier, far away from prying eyes. The air was thick with tension as I approached him. He stood there, his silhouette hauntingly outlined by the moonlight. "Alex, we need to talk," I said, my voice trembling. He turned to face me, his expression unreadable. "Talk? About what?" "There's nothing to discuss. You're just a pawn, remember." I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. "I need to know who you're seeking revenge on and why I'm caught up in this madness." He smirked, a cruel glint in his eyes. "Curiosity killed the cat, my dear. But fine, have it your way. It's someone from my past, someone who ruined my life. And you, well, you're just a means to an end." Anger surged within me, but fear held it in check. "This is insane. I won't let you destroy my life because of your vendetta." He chuckled darkly. "You don't have a choice. You're in this now, whether you like it or not." Our conversation descended into a tense silence, the sound of distant waves crashing against the pier providing an eerie backdrop. I knew I had to find a way out of this, but every step seemed to lead me deeper into the twisted game he was playing. As I turned to leave, Alex's voice echoed behind me. "This is just the beginning, sweetheart. Brace yourself." Days turned into sleepless nights, and I couldn't escape the feeling of being watched. The shadows seemed to stretch and contort, taking on a life of their own. I was a puppet in a macabre show, and the puppeteer reveled in my torment. One evening, as I paced nervously through my apartment, a knock echoed through the silence. I cautiously approached the door, heart pounding. I opened it to find an unmarked package on the doorstep. Inside was a shattered mirror and a note that sent chills down my spine. "You can't escape what you see. Reflections don't lie." I felt a cold sweat breaking out, my reflection in the remaining shards seeming to mock me. The line between reality and nightmare blurred further, and I couldn't trust my own perception anymore. No sleep, I'm sinking deeper into this abyss, and I don't know how to claw my way out. The first date was just the beginning of this horrifying journey, and I fear the worst is yet to come. Hey, No Sleep. It's me again, and this nightmare is far from over. After the revelation in the park and the chilling confrontation at the pier, I found myself sinking deeper into the dark abyss that was now my life. Chapter 3, The Revelation, unfolded like a horror movie script that I couldn't escape. Days dragged on with the weight of looming dread. The threatening messages continued and the feeling of being watched intensified. I couldn't escape the haunting sense that every step I took was leading me further into the clutches of a malevolent force. One night, as I lay wide-eyed in bed, the shadows in my room seemed to dance with an otherworldly energy. A sudden realization struck me. I needed to find out who Alex really was. The information he revealed about the person he sought revenge on might be the key to unraveling this twisted plot. I spent sleepless hours scrolling through social media, searching for any clues that might connect to Alex's past. It was a shot in the dark, but I had to try. And then, a breakthrough, a mention of a name, a face, someone who might be the target of Alex's vengeance. Driven by a desperate need for answers, I reached out to this person. Let's call them Sarah. We met at a quiet cafe, both of us on edge, uncertain of what to expect. "Sarah, I don't know how to say this, but I think I'm caught up in some kind of revenge plot involving Alex." I confessed, my words cautious. She looked at me, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and recognition. "Alex? That name sends shivers down my spine. What do you know about him?" I explained the whole twisted tale, from the seemingly perfect tender match to the revelation in the park. Sarah listened, her expression shifting from disbelief to a haunted understanding. "I had a falling out with Alex a while back," she finally admitted. "He blamed me for ruining his life, and now it seems he's out for revenge. But why involve you?" I shook my head, as puzzled as she was. "I have no idea. He just mentioned that I'm a pawn in his sick game. How can we stop him?" Sarah hesitated, glancing around as if the shadows themselves might be listening. I've heard rumors. He's involved with some dark online group. They revel in causing pain and suffering. If we don't play by their rules, they make sure we pay. A cold shiver ran down my spine. We need to find a way to break free from this nightmare. Any leads on how to stop him? She lowered her voice, almost a whisper. There's a website, an obscure corner of the dark web where these people gather. If we can expose him, maybe we can break the cycle. Determined, we delved into the depths of the internet, navigating the twisted labyrinth of the dark web. The information we uncovered was chilling. A group that thrived on revenge, manipulation, and the suffering of their victims. Alex, or whatever his real name was a pawn in a game orchestrated by something far more sinister. As we gathered evidence, the threatening messages escalated. The malevolent force seemed to sense our efforts, tightening its grip on our lives. Sarah and I became paranoid, our every move shadowed by an unseen presence. One night, as we sifted through the evidence, a message arrived. Not a threat, but a warning. You think you can expose us? You're playing with forces beyond your understanding. Prepare for the consequences. Fear sank its claws into us, but we couldn't turn back. We had to confront the darkness head-on. Armed with the evidence we had gathered, we decided to confront Alex and expose the twisted web he was entangled in. We arranged a meeting in a desolate alley, the air thick with tension. As we approached, Alex emerged from the shadows, a sinister smile playing on his lips. Ah, the dynamic duo. What do you hope to achieve, meddling in affairs that don't concern you? I held up the evidence, my voice steady. We know about your twisted game and the group you're involved with. We won't be pawns in your sick revenge plot any longer. He chuckled, unfazed. You think you can escape? There's no way out. You're trapped in a cycle of suffering, and there's no breaking free. As the confrontation unfolded, the shadows seemed to writhe and pulse, an ominous force gathering around us. The battle against the malevolent unknown had just begun, and I couldn't shake the feeling that our actions had unleashed something far darker than we could have ever imagined. No sleep, the revelation only deepened the horror. The nightmare was far from over, and the consequences of our actions were about to unfold in ways we couldn't predict. I'm reaching out for advice, for guidance. How do you escape a web woven by unseen hands, and how do you confront a darkness that seems to have no end? Hey, No Sleep. I'm back with the next chapter in this twisted tale. After the chilling confrontation with Alex and the ominous warning from the malevolent force, I found myself plunged deeper into a nightmare that defied all reason. Chapter 4. Unraveling the Past. Delved into the dark secrets buried in Alex's history, exposing a labyrinth of betrayal and revenge. Determined to break free from this suffocating web, Sarah and I continued our investigation. The evidence we had gathered pointed to a murky past, a history that Alex was desperate to conceal. Late one night, as the world outside my window slept, I received a cryptic message, an invitation to a forgotten corner of the city, where the ghosts of Alex's past lurked in the shadows. Against my better judgment, I decided to follow the trail, hoping it would lead to the answers we so desperately sought. The meeting place was an abandoned warehouse, its decaying structure echoing with the whispers of forgotten secrets. Sarah and I exchanged uneasy glances as we ventured inside, guided only by the dim light of our flashlights. As we explored the desolate space, we stumbled upon a series of old newspaper clippings and dusty photographs scattered across the floor. The articles told a haunting tale of betrayal and revenge, of a friendship shattered by deceit. Sarah, look at this, I whispered, pointing to a faded photograph of Alex with someone who seemed eerily familiar. She squinted at the image. That's James. He was Alex's best friend, or so it seemed. But something went horribly wrong between them. The clippings revealed a narrative of jealousy, betrayal, and a friendship that had turned toxic. As we pieced together the puzzle, it became clear that the revenge plot was intricately linked to the fallout between Alex and James. Our investigation led us to an old psychiatric hospital on the outskirts of town, a place that held the key to the past. It was here that James had been institutionalized after a series of traumatic events that Alex blamed him for. The hospital was a chilling labyrinth of echoing corridors and dilapidated rooms. We moved cautiously, our flashlights cutting through the darkness like feeble beacons of hope. Finally, we reached the archives, where patient records lay hidden beneath layers of dust. Sarah and I combed through the files, searching for the truth that had eluded us for so long. "I found it," Sarah whispered, her eyes widening as she read a particularly damning document. James was wrongfully accused of a crime he didn't commit. Alex orchestrated the whole thing to ruin his life. The revelation hung in the air, a heavy truth that explained the depths of Alex's rage. He believed James had wronged him, and now, years later, I was caught in a crossfire of their twisted vendetta. As we delved deeper into the records, we discovered that the psychiatric treatments had left James in a state of profound instability. The hospital had closed its doors, but the malevolent force that had taken root in James lingered, manifesting itself in the form of the dark online group Alex had become entangled with. "We need to find James," I insisted, a sense of urgency driving me forward. "Maybe he can help us end this nightmare." Sarah nodded in agreement, and together we set out to locate James, the key to unraveling the past and breaking free from the sinister game we were trapped in. Our search led us to a secluded cabin in the woods, a place where James had chosen to isolate himself from the world. The air was thick with tension as we approached, unsure of what awaited us within. "James, it's me, Sarah," she called out, her voice echoing through the stillness. A figure emerged from the shadows, a gaunt, hollow-eyed man who seemed to carry the weight of years of torment. James stared at us, recognition flickering in his haunted gaze. "I've been waiting for this moment," he rasped, his voice filled with a mix of bitterness and resignation. We explained our predicament, the revenge plot, the dark online group, and the malevolent force that seemed to pull the strings from the shadows. "I never wanted any of this," James confessed, his eyes welling with regret. "Alex blamed me for his downfall, and now he's become a puppet in a game far beyond our understanding. The only way to stop this is to confront the darkness head-on." But as James spoke, the cabin seemed to shudder, the walls closing in around us. The malevolent force, angered by our pursuit of the truth, lashed out with a ferocity that left us paralyzed with fear. "No one escapes the consequences," a guttural voice echoed through the cabin, a chilling reminder that we were entwined in something far more sinister than we could comprehend. No sleep, the revelation of Alex's past only deepened the horror. As we stood on the precipice of the unknown, the malevolent force tightened its grip, and the consequences of our pursuit threatened to consume us whole. I'm reaching out for advice, for any glimmer of hope in this nightmarish descent into the unknown. How do you confront a darkness that seems to have no end, and how do you escape the clutches of a malevolent force born from the sins of the past? Hey, no sleep. The nightmare persists, and the shadows have taken on a life of their own. Chapter 5, Messages from the Shadows, unfolds with a relentless barrage of ominous signs, cryptic threats, and a malevolent force that seems to revel in our unraveling. After our encounter with James in the secluded cabin, the atmosphere became charged with an otherworldly energy. The malevolent force that bound us to this dark game was not content to let us slip through its grasp. The messages escalated, each one more chilling than the last. Cryptic notes appeared on my doorstep, whispered threats echoed through my phone calls, and the shadows seemed to morph into grotesque shapes that danced at the edge of my vision. One evening, as I sat in the dim glow of my apartment, a raspy voice echoed through the silence. "You thought you could escape, but you can't run from the consequences." I clenched my phone, a cold sweat breaking out on my skin. "Who are you? What do you want from us?" The voice chuckled, a sound that seemed to reverberate from the depths of the abyss. "We are the shadows that linger in the corners of your existence. Your pursuit of truth has awakened forces you cannot comprehend." I exchanged a worried glance with Sarah, who sat across from me. "We need to find a way to fight back, to end this." But the malevolent force seemed to anticipate our every move. The messages became more specific, hauntingly tailored to our fears and vulnerabilities. The dark online group reveled in our torment, their virtual fingers reaching through the screen to squeeze the life out of our sanity. One day, a letter arrived. No return address, just a single line that sent shivers down my spine. "We see you, even in the shadows." I showed it to Sarah, her eyes widening in disbelief. How do they know everything about us? It's like they're always one step ahead. Our paranoia deepened as we realized that there was no escape from the watchful eyes of the malevolent force. Every corner, Every shadow seemed to conceal unseen watchers, and the line between reality and nightmare blurred with each passing moment. Late at night, as I paced nervously through my apartment, the phone rang. I answered cautiously. "You can't hide. We are everywhere," the distorted voice whispered, sending a shiver down my spine. "Who are you? What do you want?" I demanded, my voice trembling. The line went dead, leaving only the oppressive silence in its wake. The malevolent force reveled in its ability to torment us, leaving us in a perpetual state of fear and paranoia. Desperate for answers, Sarah and I revisited the dark web, hoping to find a way to sever the ties that bound us to this nightmare. The information we uncovered painted a grim picture, a group of individuals who thrived on the suffering of others, a twisted collective that manipulated reality itself. "We have to expose them," Sarah insisted, determination etched across her face. "If we can bring their deeds into the light, maybe we can break free." I nodded in agreement, knowing that the path ahead would be treacherous. Our investigation led us to a hidden online forum where the malevolent force congregated. As we delved into the dark corners of the web, the screen flickered with sinister symbols and encrypted messages. "We're getting close," Sarah whispered, her eyes scanning the screen. "Once we expose them, we can put an end to this nightmare." But the malevolent force wasn't about to let us uncover its secrets without a fight. As we delved deeper, strange phenomena manifested in our lives: eerie noises, flickering lights, and a constant feeling of being watched. One night, as we sifted through the online forum, a message appeared on the screen, not from a username, but from an entity that seemed to transcend the digital realm. "You can't unravel what we are. You're in our world now, and have no escape." The room grew colder, the air thick with an otherworldly presence. Sarah and I exchanged uneasy glances, realizing that the malevolent force had taken offense to our intrusion. "We have to keep going," Sarah urged, her voice determined. "We can't let them break us." But as we delved deeper, the shadows seemed to envelop us, and the malevolent force fought back with a ferocity that surpassed anything we had experienced before. No sleep, the messages from the shadows intensified, and the malevolent force tightened its grip on our lives. The consequences of our pursuit were catching up, and the line between reality and nightmare blurred further. I'm reaching out, seeking guidance in this descent into the abyss. How do you confront a malevolent force that seems to defy the laws of our reality? And how do you escape the suffocating grasp of an entity that revels in the torment of its victims? Hey, no sleep. The shadows are closing in, and the malevolent force seems to mock our every move. Chapter 6, The Dark Web, plunges us deeper into the abyss as Sarah and I navigate the twisted corners of the internet, seeking a way to expose the dark online group that binds us to this nightmarish reality. Fueled by desperation, we delved into the heart of the dark web, navigating its murky waters in search of the elusive online forum where the malevolent force congregated. The dim glow of the computer screen cast an eerie pallor as we navigated through encrypted sites and shadowy corners of the internet. "We need to be careful," Sarah warned, her eyes glued to the screen. "They might be watching our every move." I nodded, my nerves on edge. Each click felt like a step into the unknown, a dance with entities that existed beyond the confines of our understanding. As we traversed the digital labyrinth, we stumbled upon a hidden forum rumored to be the nexus of the malevolent force. The page was adorned with cryptic symbols and unsettling imagery, a testament to the sinister nature of its inhabitants. "We found it," Sarah whispered, her voice a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Now, let's expose them for what they are." The forum was a cesspool of malevolence, filled with discussions that seemed to revel in the suffering of others. Threads detailed dark rituals, bizarre experiments, and a collective desire to manipulate the fabric of reality itself. As we gathered evidence to expose the group, the shadows in the room seemed to writhe, as if the malevolent force sensed our intrusion into its domain. "We have to tread carefully," I urged, my eyes darting nervously between the screen and the dark corners of the room. Our efforts did not go unnoticed. Messages began flooding our inbox, not just threats, but warnings that seemed to emanate from the digital void. "You're playing with forces beyond your comprehension. There's no escape," one message read, chilling to the bone. Undeterred, we compiled our evidence, screenshots of conversations, and encrypted messages that hinted at the malevolent force's true nature. The room felt oppressive, as if unseen eyes were scrutinizing our every move. One night, as we delved deeper into the forum, a dialogue caught our attention. Two users, identified as Shadow Master and Puppeteer, discussed our intrusion with a cold detachment. Puppets attempting to cut their strings, Shadow Master typed, the words sending a shiver down my spine. Persistence is futile. They belong to the shadows now. Puppeteer replied, a sinister undertone resonating through the words. The realization hit us. We were not just dealing with a dark online group, but entities that transcended the digital realm. The malevolent force had become aware of our pursuit, and its puppeteers reveled in our futile struggle. With the evidence in hand, we decided to expose the group on a broader scale. We crafted a message detailing their malevolent activities, their manipulation of reality, and the suffering they inflicted on unsuspecting victims. This ends now, Sarah declared, determination etched across her face. We'll expose them to the world, and maybe, just maybe, we can break free from this nightmare. But as we prepared to broadcast our message, the room plunged into darkness. The computer screen flickered, and the symbols on the forum page seemed to twist into grotesque shapes. You cannot escape the shadows. A distorted voice echoed through the room, the words both a warning and a proclamation of our impending doom. The shadows seemed to materialize, taking on a corporeal form that enveloped us. We felt a suffocating pressure, the room pulsating with an otherworldly energy. In a moment of sheer terror, the computer screen displayed a single phrase. You are in our domain now. Panicked, Sarah and I scrambled to disconnect from the forum. But the malevolent force resisted our efforts. The room echoed with mocking laughter, a chorus of digital voices that seemed to revel in our powerlessness. No sleep, the journey into the dark web only intensified the horror. The malevolent force fought back with an unfathomable strength, its puppeteers mocking our feeble attempts to break free. As we stood on the precipice of the unknown, I'm reaching out to you for guidance. How do you confront entities that exist beyond the digital veil? And how do you escape a malevolent force that seems to transcend the boundaries of our reality? Hey, no sleep. I can't believe I'm still here, clawing my way through the darkness. Chapter 7, Shadows in the Night, unravels a chilling escalation of the malevolent force's power, as Sarah and I confront haunting figures in the shadows and the line between reality and nightmare continues to blur. After a failed attempt to expose the dark online group, the shadows seemed to tighten their grip. Every night, I felt a presence in the corners of my room, as if unseen watchers were closing in. Sleep became an elusive commodity, and my waking hours were filled with a sense of impending dread. One night, as I lay in bed, the room plunged into darkness. I fumbled for my phone, the only source of light in the oppressive blackness. Suffering is the price of defiance, a whisper echoed through the silence, the words carrying a weight that seemed to press down on me. I reached out to Sarah, desperation in my voice. We can't go on like this. The shadows are suffocating us. She sighed, her voice strained. I know. I feel it too, but we can't give up. We have to find a way to break free. Determined, we revisited the evidence we had gathered, hoping to uncover a weakness in the malevolent force's hold on us. The shadows clung to every corner, and as we delved deeper into the dark web's labyrinth, the pressure in the room intensified. One evening, as we sifted through the digital remnants of the malevolent force's influence, a chilling realization struck me. The shadows weren't just a metaphorical threat. They were manifesting in the physical realm. We need to document this, Sarah suggested, her voice trembling. If we can capture evidence of these shadows, maybe it will help us understand their nature. Armed with cameras and phones, we roamed through the dimly lit rooms, hoping to capture the elusive figures that seemed to materialize in the corners of our vision. The air grew heavy with an otherworldly presence, and our every step felt like a journey into the unknown. As we reviewed the footage, the shadows danced on the edges of the frames, their movements unnatural and unsettling. We couldn't deny what we saw. The malevolent force had become a tangible threat, its reach extending beyond the digital realm. The shadows are taking form, I whispered, a chill coursing through my veins. We have to find a way to sever our connection to them. Sarah nodded, her eyes fixated on the flickering images on the screen. If we can understand how they manifest, maybe we can find a way to fight back. Our search for answers led us to an old occult bookstore, a place rumored to hold knowledge about the supernatural. The air inside was thick with the scent of ancient tomes, and the flickering candles cast eerie shadows on the shelves. A disheveled man behind the counter eyed us with a knowing gaze. "You seek answers, don't you? Be careful, for knowledge comes with a price." We explained our plight, the malevolent force, the shadows, and the ever-encroaching darkness that seemed to consume our lives. The man listened, his expression unreadable. "The shadows are manifestations of a malevolent energy," he explained, his voice low and cryptic. "They feed on fear, on the chaos they sow. To break free, you must confront them head-on." Armed with this cryptic advice, we returned home, determined to face the shadows that haunted us. As night fell, we lit candles, creating a feeble barrier against the encroaching darkness. "This is it," Sarah said, her voice resolute. "We have to confront the shadows, no matter how terrifying it might be." We stepped into the dimly lit room, our cameras rolling. The shadows seemed to writhe and pulse, taking on a menacing form that defied the laws of nature. As we faced the shadows, the air thickened with an oppressive energy. Whispers echoed through the room, and the temperature dropped, signaling the malevolent force's displeasure. "We won't be your puppets any longer," I declared, my voice shaking but defiant. The shadows recoiled, as if wounded by our resistance. The room seemed to brighten, the malevolent force momentarily weakened by our confrontation. But the victory was short-lived. The shadows regrouped, closing in on us with renewed intensity. We felt an unseen force tugging at our sanity, the line between reality and nightmare blurring with each passing moment. No sleep, the shadows in the night are more than just metaphors. They are a tangible manifestation of the malevolent force that binds us to this nightmare. As we confront these shadowy entities, the consequences of our defiance become clearer, and the struggle for survival in this nightmarish descent continues. I reach out to you, seeking advice and guidance as we navigate the shadows that threaten to consume us whole. How do you confront a malevolent force that takes form in the darkness? And how do you break free from the suffocating grip of an entity that thrives on fear? No sleep. It's been a relentless journey through the shadows, and Chapter 8, the final confrontation, brings us to the precipice of an abyss that threatens to swallow us whole. The malevolent force tightens its grip, and the line between reality and nightmare blurs as we face the ultimate showdown. Haunted by the shadows and the ever-present malevolent force, Sarah and I delved deeper into the occult, seeking ancient knowledge that might hold the key to our salvation. The air became charged with an otherworldly energy as we scoured dusty tomes and consulted cryptic texts in our quest for answers. One night, as we sifted through the arcane knowledge we had gathered, a vision unfolded before us. A ritual, a convergence of forces that could potentially sever the ties that bound us to the malevolent force. "We have to perform this ritual," Sarah urged, her eyes reflecting a mix of determination and fear. "It's our only chance to break free." The ritual involved ancient symbols, incantations, and a merging of our energies to confront the malevolent force head-on. The air in the room crackled with anticipation as we prepared for the final confrontation. As we chanted the incantations, the atmosphere shifted. The room seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, and the shadows gathered, twisting into grotesque shapes that surrounded us. The malevolent force fought back with a ferocity that surpassed anything we had experienced before. Whispers echoed through the room, taunting us with promises of eternal suffering. "We are the shadows that linger in your soul. You cannot escape us." A guttural voice resonated, chilling us to the bone. Sarah and I held hands, our energies intertwining as we faced the shadows that closed in on us. The ritual reached its climax, and for a moment, the malevolent force seemed to waver. But victory was elusive. The shadows recoiled, then surged forward with an intensity that left us gasping for breath. The room convulsed with a dark energy, and the ritual threatened to spiral out of control. "We can't give up," Sarah shouted over the cacophony of whispers and malevolent laughter. "We have to push through." Determined, we pressed on, channeling every ounce of our will into the ritual. The shadows writhed and contorted, the malevolent force lashing out with a final, desperate surge. As the ritual neared its conclusion, the room trembled. The shadows seemed to dissipate, their hold weakening. But just when we thought we had succeeded, a blinding light enveloped us. The malevolent force, enraged and cornered, unleashed a surge of energy that sent us reeling. The room seemed to fracture, reality warping around us as the force fought to maintain its dominion. In the midst of the chaos, a figure emerged, a manifestation of the malevolent force itself. A distorted visage, a grotesque amalgamation of shadows and malevolence. "You thought you could defy us?" The figure sneered, its voice echoing from the depths of the abyss. But we stood firm, our will stronger than ever. Sarah and I locked eyes, a silent understanding passing between us. The final confrontation had arrived. "We won't be your puppets. We won't succumb to your darkness," I declared, my voice unwavering. The figure lunged at us, shadows twisting and contorting in a final, desperate attempt to snuff out our defiance. But the ritual had weakened its hold, and our combined energies proved to be a formidable force. With a blinding burst of light, the figure disintegrated, its malevolent essence dissipating into the void. The room fell silent, the oppressive energy lifting. We stood in the aftermath, breathless and drained, the remnants of the malevolent force fading away. The shadows retreated, their once menacing forms reduced to mere wisps. As the reality stabilized, Sarah and I exchanged a weary but triumphant glance. The final confrontation had come to an end, and we had emerged victorious. No sleep, the journey through the shadows has reached its climax. The malevolent force has been confronted, and the shadows that once haunted us are dissipating. But the aftermath leaves us scared, and the consequences of our defiance linger in the air. I share this with you, seeking solace and understanding as we navigate the aftermath of the final confrontation. How do you move forward after facing a malevolent force that defied the boundaries of reality? And how do you rebuild when the shadows of the past still linger?